minutes of questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This is a crucial hearing because I think it involves constitutional principles of the equality and justice that we demand in this nation, and I thank the witnesses for their presence here today. I want to say to Dr. Swain that I don't disagree with you that this nation should not turn a blind eye to illegal immigration. In fact, we should engage, and frankly, for almost a decade, in my tenure in this Congress, we have tried to fairly engage in the question of illegal immigration by putting forward a plan of comprehensive immigration reform that addresses the question of a process, if you will, of access to citizenship. Lamar Smith and I, over the years, have talked about the importance of providing a widespread view of Americans and creating jobs and ensuring that there is an investment in the skills of Americans. And so we probably don't disagree on that. We find ourselves, however, in the political climate where if right was right and truth was truth, we could not find on this committee a bipartisan pathway to be able to effectively deal with fixing the immigration system, doing some of the things that you've said, which means that we could, in fact, members of this side of the aisle have agreed that we could take some of those fees and invest in training, for example. We did that. Training nurses, training farm workers maybe, training others that happen to be, as you have declared, people here in the United States. So we wish we could take up your challenge because that would be the right thing to do. But we find ourselves in a dilemma where we can't get anyone that is on the other side of the aisle to look reasonably at the crisis that we face. To Mr. Colbert, let me say to you, your last sentence in your testimony submitted is something I agree with. They say that you truly know a man after you walked a mile in his shoes, and while I have nowhere near the hardships of these struggling immigrants, I have been granted a sliver of insight. So I want to pose these series of questions and start first with Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, how do you rebut the comment that Dr. Swain made that your effort was a bogus effort to try and find American workers to work in the farms of America?
Let me just first respond. Thank you very much, Congresswoman Lee. We came up with this idea and this concept actually sitting down and meeting with some of the farm workers that I just introduced to you. We were trying to discuss how do we help sensitize and inform the American public about this particular issue in a way that everyone could hopefully better understand. And so as a result of that, the workers came up with a suggestion, well, let's invite legal citizens, let's invite politicians, let's invite policymakers to come and work in the field so they can understand that farm workers are not here and immigrant workers are not here to take away American jobs. So as a result of that, after discussion, we came up with the idea of Take Our Jobs campaign, and consequently, we received a very interesting response from people upon doing that. And when Mr. Colbert decided to also invite us to come on the show and talk about that, it further gave more visibility to that particular issue.
But the question is, she said that you were not serious.
We're very serious.
And
we
so
wanted to prove the point.
Refute quickly that you were not serious. You worked hard and continue to work hard. Is the program still in place?
We work very hard. We have people dedicated every day to listening to individuals that call into us, checking our websites, trying to assist.
So you are serious about it, and we welcome workers. Mr. Colbert, when I spoke about the landscape of immigration reform, I take it that you have had enough experience that are you speaking only to farm workers, or do you see the value in America answering the call and concern of Dr. Swain and not turning a blind eye to immigration and looking at immigration comprehensively. Do you think it's long overdue for this nation to pass a comprehensive immigration reform plan that looks at all aspects of those who are undocumented, who are seeking an opportunity, particularly young people who have come here and are undocumented and need to access our colleges and schools?
I think there are way too many undocumented Mexican workers here in the United States doing jobs, and I think that we've ignored this issue for too long, and it is time to roll up our sleeves and face this issue mano, whatever the Spanish word for mono is.
The gentle lady's
Well,
time has
Madam
expired.
Chair, let me just conclude by saying I appreciate Mr. Colbert, but I hope that this hearing will lead to the foundation for comprehensive immigration reform, which I truly believe is the underpinnings of what America is all about. Mr. Rodriguez, no job should be diminished. No job. And the workers that are behind you, their job is not diminished. And I think we can work alongside of each other and tell America that we're better working
The
together.
gentlelady's time
I yield
has
back.
expired.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
before recognizing Mr. Poe, I just would want to note for the ranking member that the Democratic rule is that all bills must be posted 72 hours in advance on the internet. And I would yield now to Mr. Poe for his 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since I have no life, I actually do read the bills, including the health care bill. And I also read the Arizona law, unlike some people in the administration. But I want to thank you all for being here. It's always good to see a fellow Texan, Mr. Rodriguez, for being here as well. There are several issues that I see. One, legal immigration versus illegal immigration. Legal workers versus illegal workers. I think that the problem is the illegal workers. If the country needs more legal immigrants to work, that is an issue that needs to be solved. And the answer is not to just allow more illegals in the country. The answer is to solve the legal process to come here to work as a migrant worker. That seems to be the problem I think should be solved. The other issue I see is wages. Based on what your testimony, your written testimony is, a person that works as a worker in the field can make up to $300 or probably $360 a week. That varies from farm to farm. A person can draw unemployment in the United States as a citizen up to about $390 a week. So if Americans are unemployed and receiving unemployment and the wages are so low in the farm industry, they lose the motivation to work because people in the farm industry are underpaid, whether they're legal workers or illegal workers. And as far as jobs that Americans won't do, I represent Southeast Texas. I represent people that work offshore. And you talk about hard jobs, that's working offshore. Those hard jobs are a lot of jobs that are very tough for Americans to do. But they do that because they get compensated for the work that they do. So low wages seems to be the issue here, not whether or not we should allow people to stay in the country or be in the country illegally. Low wages, fix the process to let people come in if we need those workers, but deal with the 14 million unemployed Americans, 4.5 million of which are drawing up to $390 a week unemployment for up to 99 weeks. Now, Dr. Swain, I want to go back to some of your testimony and ask you to kind of rectify and resolve these issues that I have just mentioned and see how, because I represent a great number of minorities in Port Arthur, Texas. 14% of them are unemployed in Port Arthur, Texas. And how would you see a system to create fair wages, compensated wages, wages where everybody's paying taxes, not just some people paying taxes? How would you see Congress moving in a direction regarding legal immigrants to work and also getting more Americans working?
Well, the first thing I think that we need to do is, as I said before, enforce the existing laws and to put it, the E-Verify program that the federal government already has, and many people are voluntarily signing up for that program, if it was mandatory across the country, it would create opportunities for American workers, because there are millions of illegal immigrants that are working on the payrolls that should not have jobs. These are jobs that should go to American workers. And so I think that we need to enforce the laws that are on the books and then see how much surplus labor we may need. If we have a labor shortage after we enforce our laws, then we need to look at the guest worker programs and see how they need to be changed. I think it should be easier for people to come to the United States legally, and that we should reward those that do it the right way, that come legally, and not allow their interests, to somehow be the interests of people that come here legally. They seem to get the worst end of the deal. I have friends that are immigrants that are trying to do it the right way, and many of them feel like that they would get a better deal if they were to fall out of status and become illegal, rather than to try to do it a way that's legal. And I'd like to respond to the comment about the Take Our Jobs initiative. The very fact that they named it Take Our Jobs is a deterrence, because it assumes the name itself implies that the jobs belong to someone else. And so the immigrants are saying, take our jobs. I don't know many people that would want to take a job that belonged to someone else.
Mr. Rodriguez, let me ask you a generic question. In the farm working industry, approximately how many people working in the industry that are foreign nationals are legally here, illegally here? Can you give me a percentage?
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Congressman. The estimate is by the federal government, Department of Labor, about 53%. Based on my own experience after being out there all the time, probably more like 70 to possibly 75% are unauthorized workers that are working in the agricultural workforce today.
All right. Just one last comment. I agree with Dr. Swain that we need to fix the legal immigration system. It is too complicated. It takes too long. And with that, I will yield back.
The gentleman yields back. Thank you very much. And I will turn now to the gentlelady from California, Ms. Waters, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman. I find this hearing to be most interesting.